This is going to be showing a solo Grandmaster Nightfall on a Hunter without the use of the exotic grain launcher Anarchy. For those that just want to see the run, then skip to the timestamps that you have available to you on the video. But other than that, I'll talk briefly about modifiers and what I was using. So I've already discussed the modifiers at length on the first run I done, which was on a Warlock. So I'm not going to talk about all these modifiers. The Grandmaster modifiers, we should all be sort of used to what the rhythm of them are. You've got match game on, equipment locked, extinguish, Grandmaster modifiers, limited resis, etc. It doesn't really matter if you've already played it. I'll just point out the key points. The key points are Empath is on, which means you take increased damage from melee. That's so important to know about that. Chaff, radar is disabled, which is the usual. And then we have incoming arc and environmental damage is increased. That's key to know that, because when we spec our resistance values to that modifier, see, you always look at the modifier and then spec to that. So we're on a Hunter, as I said, Night Stalker, bottom tree, we have the Pathfinder, Vortex Grenade, Gambler's Dodge. We paired that with the exotic chestplate, the 6 Coyote, which gives us double dodge, means we can go invisibility for quite a long time. You want to spec for 100% mobility. If you're using tier 9, tier 8 mobility, you're going to find you're not going to have your invis as much as you need or want it, especially at the boss. So spec for it. You can do that by, with your armor, just put a bunch of mobility mods on, but you can also help out your setup by using Powerful Friends, which is an arc mod, which has been sold quite a lot now. From the stage of when it was allowed to be sold, it's been sold various times. Okay, I can count 3 or 4 times I've saw it being sold. So, but again, if you don't have it, you can still reach 100% mobility. Just look at all your armor and spec for the mobility. Then try and spec for high recover. My recovery isn't even that good, but I still achieved to do it no problem, even with T7. So spec for that next. That's your next secondary stat, if you like. And then armor mods are basic, but important at the same time. We're not using Protective Light because we're on Hunter. We don't need to. We're going to use Shield Break Charge, which means we get Charge of Light by breaking a shield. We get high energy fire when we get Charge of Light. So Shield Break Charge is a way of getting a 20% damage buff. We're also using Bridge and Clear, which is a debuff. Debuffs enemies. You can debuff and buff. You buff yourself and then you debuff enemies. They stack together. Okay, that's important to know. Rock your Scavengers, rock your ammo finders on your helmet and your boots. Anti-barrier scout, unstoppable GL on the gauntlets. Arc damage resistance, sniper damage resistance. So I said earlier, incoming arc is on. So we need to spec for that. Now there's 2 ways of doing this. You can either do arc damage resistance, sniper damage resistance, like I've got right here. Or you can make your 6 Coyote solar and do solar damage resistance, concussive dampener. Those are your 2 routes. Any other route that you do isn't as good as these 2. And I'll explain it more in the run itself, why these 2 resistance setups are probably the best. But that's what resistance you want to use. And then on the weapons. So as I said, we're not doing it with the Anarchy, but even if you have it, even if you do a with a hard run, you'll get similar results to what the Anarchy run is. It's not to say the Anarchy run is easier. It's not to say with a hard run. In some aspects, with a hard run's easier than the Anarchy. I've done both runs, and I can honestly say they're very similar. But I'm just providing an alternative route for somebody who doesn't have it. That's it. Now, if you don't have the catalyst, then you're going to struggle. So you must have the catalyst if you're going to even attempt it. Then you want an arc scout rifle on for arc shields. And then something void in your heavy slot. I chose Royal Entry. Any rocket you want to use, use. There's no yes or no to your rocket. Whatever God roll is to you, use it. And you can also use Disruption Break on your scout. I didn't. I just opted for this rapid hit version. But again, that would buff with a hard by 50% with the Disruption Break. But we have Bridge and Clear, so we've got all the damage we need for this. That was the setup. So like usual, with this run we'll do commentary. We didn't do it on the previous video because that was a different type of video. If you saw it, I appreciate it. If you didn't, I would recommend you go and watch it because it was something different. The video I done previous to this. But this video is just going to be back to usual, what I usually do. Okay, this will be probably more, this is more helpful to most. So, with this start section, you're in a public zone. I've already mentioned this. If you saw the Warlock run, I'm going to be repeating a lot of stuff. but people have requested hunter runs, so I'll do the hunter run. Even though a lot of it won't change it, for me, it might provide a different angle for somebody who's a hunter main. You know, at least they can see on a video and say, okay, this is how he's doing it. Some people learn like that, some people will learn by just watching a video. Some people will go on Reddit and learn by words. Some people learn differently. I'm a visual type of person, so you tell me something on a message and say, oh well, I done this. Okay, but how did you exactly do it? And I want to see the video over than just reading Reddit. That's why I don't go on Reddit much. But with this starting section, you just want to be sitting up this cliff area. There's a initial fallen I killed right at the start. Kill him because he'll just spam you with arc nades. The arc nade will nearly kill you even if you've got arc resistance on. So you've got to be very careful. I guess I'll talk about that quickly now. So the resistance values, I said earlier, there's arc resistance, sniper resistance I have on my chest plate. This stops you from being one shot by snipers. Some of the champions are hobgoblin snipers, some of them aren't. If you get one shot by a champion, that is extremely bad feeling, because you've went from 100% HP to 0. It shouldn't really be a thing really in the game, but I guess it is. But anyways, we need to combat that. So you put a sniper damage resistance on, which is available on Solar Void or Arc, which has concussive dampeners as well. They're usual, but the Arc one's obviously only on Arc plates. Now Arc's buffed. Problem is, the boss does Arc, a lot of the Cabal do Arc, etc. So I really think you want the Arc on, so then you've defended yourself against the boss, the Cabal. You can run double Arc resistance and they'll buff together. You can do it like that if you wanted. But again, you're not going to get the protection from solar snipers though, are you? If you do that. I'm not saying it's out of the question, but for most people, they want a sniper resistance on. Now, if you don't do it like that and you do the solar version, then you go solar resistance, which will protect yourself against the solar snipers, but then you can put on concussive dampener then, you see, which then also defends yourself against the boss and a couple of targets in the game that do area of effect damage. So that would also work, but you are still going to sort of get melted by arc because you've got no arc resistance on. But again, as I said, both options will work. It's up to yourself which way you do it. So with this first room, this initial room, once you took out the snipers, you want to take out the solar shield first. If you don't, he will focus you while you try to kill a barrier. There's a barrier right below me, of course, but he will focus you. That's the thing about this game. If you aggro a champion, all the adds, even if the adds of two enemy factions are fighting each other, they'll turn their focus to you. So that's where you'll get caught off guard. So kill the solar shield first, and the only way to do that really, because we've got no solar, is to let the anti-barrier snipers take the shield. If you kill the two anti-barrier shields, you're going to struggle to take the solar shield down. So just play from here, and then you can move up. This section here, you can jump all the way around it. There's a ledge to my right and my left. If I get heavy on the floor, like on this cliff area, sorry, I'll utilize that brick, like I'm doing it right now. So I don't know with a hard shot. I don't expect everyone to be sort of doing it like this, because it's a difficult shot to make. But I'll show you where you can take him easier. But I'm just doing this now because I've got a brick. So I can sort of take advantage of the ammo up here, because once you drop down, it's difficult to get back up, and then you've got ads fighting, and they might start shooting you. So I'm just optimizing my ammo. Did I get a heavy brick? Yeah, I did on this run. And now my rocket launcher's field prep on it. That's massive. That stacks with Scavenger. Means I can get a lot of ammo per brick. This is why it's such a good roll. Now the auto load and last impression is also going to be good to you, but you're not going to get that much ammo. You see, you're not going to get the ammo. So this is where people don't realise. Throw on this gun, it works for everything in the game. No, not always. It will do, but will it work as good? Because this is when it comes down to solo play. Does it work as good? If the answer's no, then you need to use the other weapon. So yes, anything can be used in the game, but that's not the reason why I make videos. It's what's the best option to use in the game for a specific weapon role. And it changes. So if you're in a raid, auto-load and holster, lasting impression with his ANARCHY's burden is going to do you great. Is it going to be as good in solo play for what you're doing? Maybe not. Field prep might be more valued because you get more ammo per brick. And if you have to kill 20 champions plus in one Nightfall, then you value field prep over auto-load and holster, see? So things change. There's not meant to be. This is why this game's designed with various perk rolls, because there's different perk guns do suit for different jobs. And that's how people need to look at stuff. They need to say, well, this is a god roll for raids, this is a god roll for dungeons, this is a god roll for this. Not one thing suits everything. Okay. So this cliff area is good, as you can see, to take the barriers out, which I did take the lasting barrier. You'll have 2 spawns, which once you kill a certain amount of Vex and the Void Minotaur, you'll get another 2 Void. You don't be frightened to use a rocket. It's not wasting. You're not wasting a rocket by actually taking one of those out. Or use your nade, what have you, or even tether. You can even tether from up there if you really wanted to. And it's not a waste because you're getting past it. Nothing's really wasted in Grandmasters. If you're getting past a certain bit, then it's not a waste because you've got to the next section. Unless you're absolutely spamming your ammo and wasting it. And that's different. You have the 2 champions down below, always 1 unstoppable, 1 barrier. Sometimes the unstoppable is up top. Sometimes there's 2 unstoppables up top and none down below. What it is the champion teleports. This champion I'm killing now, people get themselves confused. It teleports and it's based on time. So the 3 snipers you take at the very start, the slower you are, it means the champion, the unstoppable, will teleport down below. But you'll notice if you go quicker, the 2 unstoppables will be up top. It doesn't matter. You're still going to get platinum in the end. So it doesn't matter how you do it. It's probably better the unstoppables down below anyways. Because he can't push you then, can he? Be sure to collect up all your ammo, even primary. Primary is so important. Whatever it is, and there's a couple of people mentioned it as well, ammo seems to be not dropping in this Nightfall. Now, I'm going to make more of an issue about it and say they maybe need to look at it because there's some inconsistencies with this particular strike. And they are fixing things. They've just patched glassware. They've patched the cheese on glassware. I don't know which one it is. I think I know which one it is. But if they're going to go to that level of fixing stuff, then look at this Nightfall because it's terrible for ammo. It's not dropping ammo. Ammo bricks are falling off the floor. Champions are booping ammo off the floor. Warmind cells are, booping off the floor. They need to sort of put something in place so that stuff doesn't happen. I don't know if it's intended or not, but if it is, they're just trolling. They are just trolling if it's intended for ammo just to fall off. You can have a heavy brick, and because there's a lot of cliffs, ledges in this Nightfall, that happens so much. And the thing is, if that happens, I've noticed if bricks are falling off the floor, you tend not to get many more bricks for the next 5 minutes. I think because the game registers you as having that ammo. You have had some ammo, you're not having any more. But in reality, it fell off the floor. It fell off the ledge. So I would say if anyone's watching this video, they need to look at ammo. They need to really look at it. If this is the way we're going with champions, and then nerfing anarchy, and what options have we got? We haven't got many options. They need to look at ammo. They really do. So with this section, you've got the 2 barriers. Just stand on this ledge. You don't need to be fighting on the floor. I've seen a couple of runs where people are fighting on the floor. Don't fight on the floor. The unstoppable may push you, but up on the ledge he doesn't because he's not smart enough to jump up. So you use the ledge to your advantage. You can also avoid snipes. One of these champions is a sniper. One of them just fires a small laser. It's the sniper one you need to be careful of. Finish off the last shield break. We left the 2 Cabal up because they assist with damage, you see, and it means the Vex fight Cabal. So anytime there's 2 enemy factions in the game, let them fight each other. And whichever enemy faction is more dangerous to you, so for example if I'm doing one or nothing, whichever one's more dangerous, then take out that one first. You're isolating the most dangerous threat to you, and then you're taking the hardest thing first, and then you know, it's making it easier for you for the rest of the run. So like I said, when two enemy factions fighting, that's what you need to do. But going back to, you know, the state of the game and stuff, if they're gonna nerf Anarchy where it's unusable for GM damage on champions, then we're gonna be in a bit of trouble for solo play, because there's not much options. Sleeper Simulant, I have tried it in the Grandmaster and stuff, and it's good, especially in team play. Having somebody with Sleeper Simulant on for that burst damage when you're in a team, it makes sense. But when we start coming to solo play, it doesn't. A lot of weapons don't, even rockets. The only reason why my rocket's doing decent is because I've got Wither Horde, which does the damage over time. But if I was using double primary rocket, I'm in trouble. People are going to be in trouble. With some Nightfalls you need to use double primary, and this is where the problem is. Glassware. What we're going to use, if Anarchy didn't exist, what would people use? Double primary, what heavy would they use? Because I'm sure there's no heavy that could sustain sort of damage that Anarchy can over that amount of ammo. So we're getting into trouble, and the buff that they gave to Sleeper isn't enough. It should have been given ammo. Now I'm interested to see what they do with the LMG, because that's getting buffed, which means Xenophage will. Now Xenophage is really bad in GMs. It's okay, but it's not that good. Like, its damage on bosses and stuff, it isn't good on Grandmaster level. Now if that's buffed to a point where you can, you know, start using it, then that's going to be fine, because it's got 32 ammo, and that's why it's appealing, because of its ammo count. Deathbringer is another. It's not going to be a replacement for solo play. It isn't going to do the work. Wither Horde will do the work for you. The problem with Wither Horde is it sits in the kinetic slot. Now if it was a heavy grain launcher, okay, it would make a bit more sense, but I kind of like where it is. But the reason why I say that is because if you need to use double primary, because, you know, you're solo, you need to stun, you know, two different types of champions, you're limited to that, and it comes down to the seasonal mods again. You know, if we had unstoppable shotgun to us all the time, we could use that. If we had an overload fusion, we could have some options. We should never have to run double primary, and that's something that they need to look at for the Witch Queen, because we're 2017, and that's where it's coming to. But in Nightfalls where you don't have to go double primary, they feel fine, satisfying. Disgraced, that's another one. Feel satisfying because it opens up loadouts. It means you can run a weapon that doesn't hold. You could even run a sniper. You could on this one. So the variety changes and things open up. Whereas when it's overload anti-barrier, you're limited. It's, right, I have to put a hand cannon on. There's no disrupting blade this season, and it's just sort of, the game should be advancing, not devolving, not going backwards. It's something they need to look at, because I know people are happy watching Grandmasters, but Bungie usually goes off that. If they've got high viewership, people are watching them on Twitch, people are watching them on YouTube, Bungie's going to say, okay, we've cracked it, Nightfalls are in a great spot, and they're not. Ask the person who's played them for years. I've played these for years. Okay, it's something I've focused on mainly more than raids, so I'm one of the best people to ask about this topic, and I can tell you right now that I'm doing them all the time, so I know that, and they're not in the right spot because of the seasonal mods, the whole system, and the artifact power. All that stuff needs changing, and if they don't, people are just going to get fed up and they're going to start playing other games. If it carries on, that's what's going to end up happening. People are going to gravitate to other games. The next generation of games are coming out. Your PS5, your new Xbox. What you'll find is games are going to start to go to that level. They're going to come to the next level of... It usually follows the generation of consoles. So the first year of a console release, the games aren't good. But after the first year, that's when the games heat up. And that's what's going to happen. Okay? But with this section here, now that we've finished the 2 arc shields, a little good tip here is that you can clear the legionaries and the well, mainly the legionaries and the phalanx before you shoot up the lift. The adds don't spawn until you've killed the arc shield, like both of the arc shields. Now I knew I had heavy on the floor, so I could do 1 rocket or 2, but I would highly recommend doing it, as it can be dangerous when you go through the portal. The adds can just collapse on you. Now if you're good with your invis, you're going to get away with it, but you could get caught off guard, so it's worth just scouting them down. You can even scout them down if you want. You can hit them with Witherhoard from here, but it's quite difficult to do, so that's the thing you can do as well. Now we're going to invis dodge past this solar shield. We don't have no solar, so we're not taking them. Activate the lift, go through the portal, equip Witherhoard when you're ready to stop. Don't have the Witherhoard equipped without unstoppable shot active on your left hand side there. Very important. And what we're going to do is sort of optimize this bit, so we're not going to use any heavy, because I want to use heavy for the next champ. And I'm not sure if he's going to drop me heavy right now, so it's a case of we let Witherhoard do the work, which 1 Witherhoard shot will stop a champion twice, which is good to know. So you can just dodge invis around him while he takes the damage. Getting finishable, that's it done. Now there's 2 solar barrels, you need to shoot those because the champion can shoot them and blow you up. Environmental damage is increased, which means crates do extra damage to you. The interesting thing is they do extra damage to enemies as well. But that's a video for a different day. There's 2 gladiators downstairs. We're going to come to this angle right here. Do not fall off the ledge. If you do, you're going to have to clutch up and do everything from down there, which is a bit more difficult. Start with a Witherhoard and a grenade. The grenade and the Witherhoard helps to get that first bit of damage before he starts shooting at you. Then I do 2 rockets. Now if you haven't got this roll, that's fine. You're going to do 1 rocket and you're going to go back to your scout and let Witherhoard do more of the damage. I just used 2 rockets there because that champion's a Pinnacle champion that needs to be took out, because he could be stunned by Witherhoard. Because what people don't realise is unstoppable grenade launcher works on all adds. You're going to see it here right now. So here's the proof here, if you don't believe me. So this gladiator is pushing me. He gets stopped. He gets staggered by the Witherhoard. If you notice, if you use Witherhoard on the floor and you've got unstoppable GL on, all the adds bounce out of the pool of the Witherhoard, which isn't ideal because they take less damage because they jump out of the pool. But as I said, it's working just like what unstoppable hand cannon would work like, unstoppable shotgun. They work on all mods work on all adds. So anti-barrier scout works on adds. Anti-barrier SMG is OP, if people remember that. Overload hand cannon works on all adds, overload bow, etc. So now we're going to do the transit section. So this is something what I found out a day or 2 ago. Activate the transit system and come round the backside. This is your safe place. You just need to jump up every now and then because these little circular things come round. Okay, come around every now and then. But what you want to do is just do Witherhoard on the floor. Pick a side, left or right, doesn't matter. But whatever side you Witherhoard is the side the adds will aggro on. The last thing you want is getting pushed left and right, which can happen. An unstoppable could go right, and a legionary could go left. Because the AI is smarter on Grandmaster. You should know this. So what you want to do is outsmart them by aggroing them to one side so you can't get hit in the back. That is all we're doing with that. You will also hear a trigger that was a couple of seconds ago where you hear 2 more Cabal Sophias come in to the ground. That means the next spawns come in. You want to be hearing for that because when you go to the portal, if you've killed the legionaries and you time it exactly right, the Cabal ball might hit you. Now I didn't kill the unstoppable there as well because the unstoppable will despawn and does not count for platinum. So you can bypass that unstoppable. You don't need to kill him for platinum. You'll see I'll get platinum at the end, and you do every time. It's not RNG, it's because the champion despawns, which is interesting because the mechanic has come up to say he's appeared, but having tested it, you don't need to. With this section, you want to get the Unstoppable stunned early before he gets too close, because Wither Horde on its own can't one cycle a champion at this power. You can't do it on Grandmaster, so you need to be 2 cycles, maybe 3 if you're just using Wither Horde plus your Scout. If you're going to use a rocket, that's fine, but I don't think you need to. There's more Pinnacle moments that you need to be using rockets, and right now isn't that time. It's pretty safe, you've got cover. We're going to take these Void Shields, see if they drop me heavy. See, we're playing the RNG game, see if they do, because if they do drop heavy, that's 4 free shots potentially in one break that I have, and I can do something if that happens, which it did. If it didn't, then I would have to deal with things differently, which wouldn't be a problem either. Be careful of these Void Shields. I know they're red bars, but they one-shot you because of environment damage is on. They one-shot. Now, if you had concussive dampener on, you would probably survive it, but without concussive, you can't. So it's a case of don't get too close. Do not get too close. They'll one-shot. Even if you've got Heart of the Pack, you'll still die, which has happened to me. So just pre-warning you about that. So this is interesting. So I wanted to see what would happen if I do some rockets here, and see if I could get the Unstoppable from here as well. But obviously, if you're not going to do this, which is unlikely that you will, because you may not have a brick where I have one, then you're going to take him from down below, which is really safe to do that. I'm just optimizing ammo, so I'll get a stop, 2 rockets, and that'll get him weak. We also have Charge with Light, so we've done so much damage to him there because we had a debuff going, which is Breach and Clear, and then Charge of Light from the Void Shields earlier gave us a 20% damage buff. Now this is going to be coming really handy for the boss. That's why I'm using the high energy fire shield break. You don't need to use Protective Light because there's nowhere in this Nightfall really where you're pushed to be like, right, I need Protective Light. You don't need to. The resistance values are enough. It's not like Glassware where you're going to need Protective Light or maybe one of the other difficult Nightfalls. This one's easier than the rest just because of how it's designed. All the ads are killed, I believe, but if they aren't, oh, there's one void, but if they aren't, this is your safe place. Just to my left, you can loop around that corner and you can literally just fight from there. None of the ads will push, the Unstoppable will, but obviously just if you don't have the heavy or what have you, just use Wither Horde and then Smoke Invis if he gets close. But whatever you do, do not let him boop you. That's a one shot, as I said. Look at your ammo drops. If you've got a brick there, then you can make it work and use some ammo here and then retreat back for ammo. Where there's ammo behind me, you can actually go back for that. So again, look at your ammo drops. I didn't get a brick, but that's fine. We have more opportunities to get bricks. That's where your rocket finder will come in. Now, I was very lucky there, but that's just a key factor where arc resistance has helped me there. That champion does arc, and I got stuck on like a rock, which is annoying. Okay, I was just trying to retreat. I would have been fine but I got stuck there. But the arc resistance saved me. So that's a case in point why you want arc on. If I didn't have arc on, that's a wipe. So before we deal with the champion, I was wanting to take out some of the ads. Now, interestingly enough, I was wanting to get the champion to de-aggro so that he would fight the Vex, which if you retreat he usually does, but this time he was aggroed on me, maybe because I killed a lot of the Cabal already. I'm not 100% sure, but this on the right side here where I am is the safest place to take the barrier, because you can strafe in and out right and sort of head glitch him so that he can't shoot you. It's not the barrier Colossus that does the solar, so you're fine there. They're the most threatening. This one's arc. Actually, he does do solar. Sorry. He does the arc and the solar, I guess. But don't let him give you any sustained fire at all. So, just let Wither Horde do the work. If you want to double rocket that, I highly recommend it, because that champion's pretty difficult to take. or can be. So whenever there's a champion that's giving you grief, double rocket them, or you know, one rocket, what have you. If it's an easier champion to you, then just let Witherhoard and your primary do the work. All depends on what the ammo drops you're getting on the floor. That's a lot of it. So this section is really good to fight from. There's different ways you can take the barriers. I just take it from here because again you can sort of be safe from the barriers up here. Take the barrier closest to you, not the one behind. The one behind will retreat. If there's two barriers alive, the AI changes and one barrier will retreat, one barrier will stay up front. So don't take the one behind because that one's going to retreat behind that rock. So take the closest one, then you can take the one on its own, because the one on its own will then obviously push you. Now I used plenty of rockets there because I've got 3 bricks on the fly, so you can see my rocket launcher finder ammo working. It's magic there. So I was fine to do what I want. You don't even need max heavy, to be honest. If you had 6 rockets, 7 rockets, you're fine. Your rocket's more to assist what Witherhoard's going to do. Obviously, if you're going to the boss with no rockets, then that's bad. You're in a bad situation there. So make sure you've got a couple, but you certainly don't need max. So there's 3 plates of damage. I'm sure we all know this. It's been out for a long time, this strike. This is where the high energy fire shield break charge comes in. So because we're not going to be fighting any adds after these 3 harpies, we can keep charge of light. If you kill an ad, you lose charge of light, but we're not going to be killing an ad because we're going to be fighting the boss. So what I'm doing here is an advanced technique where you get an ad one shot, then you let the shield regenerate, and then the shield explosion kills the ad, so therefore you keep charge of light. I keep my ×2, you'll just watch here. I'll get my ammo. So I want plenty of ammo, primary wise. So here you'll see. The ad dies to the arc shield explosion, which means we keep charge of light ×2, which is great. I would have had charge of light ×1 if that would have happened anyways, but just showing you something. DPS needs to go like this: 1 with a hard shot, 2 rockets, 1 or 2 depending on your rocket, and then retreat. The boss will then teleport around the room. You can do another rocket here if you want it. Obviously Roll Enemy has tracking, which is why I'm using it, why I recommend you use it as well. And then just keep Witherhoarding at this stage. When the boss gets close though, you want to do a smoke dodge, get out of there. The ads will all despawn. Pick up any ammo quickly before the floor disappears, because when the floor disappears, the ammo could land anywhere, seriously. So you want to pick that up as soon as you can, if possible. Then you want to get to a section here where you can sort of do cover. There's 2 or 3 pillars that are like this. And then you just want to do Witherhoard rocket. You don't really need to use many rockets on this phase, I guess. I used 2 so far, I can't remember how many I used in total. Don't peek shoot for too long, he melts, don't let him do it. So as you can see there, I've done 2 rockets, some Witherhoard, and then it's done. That's just a damage gate to get to. That's all you're doing with that. You're not trying to burst him down so much. I mean, you are in a way, you want plate 2 over with, because eventually plate 2 will spawn ads in. So you are timed, but Witherhoard does a lot of work for you. So as long as you just keep Witherhoarding, you're fine. Melt all the ads with Witherhoard, even a rocket if you have to. Be very careful with the goblins and the boss up at the same time. But now what we're trying to do is position the boss. So the boss has AI movement, and depending on where you are, depends where the boss is. Now this is something that's in the boss that happens all the time. So I can safely do DPS here, behind this pillar, and the boss can't hit me. His arc attack will one-shot you if you don't have arc resistance, if it's a direct hit. With arc resistance, it will nearly one-shot you. I think if it's direct hit, it will, but if it briefly hits you, then you get half HP, like so. When the boss starts to rotate, it means the next phase is beginning. You need to pay attention to the Vex that are spawning, and this is where you really need to use your invis dodge abilities, because if the boss catches you while goblins catch you, that's a death. This isn't the very last phase of the fight, but it's going to be the last phase for us. Reason being is because we don't want to extend the fight longer than what it needs to be. On my Titan run and on my Warlock run, you'll have saw I actually didn't do this phase. I beat the boss before this phase because I utilised Code of the Missile on Titan and I used Chaos Reach on the Warlock, which are high DPS supers, and they can carry me through the DPS. And I used Anarchy as well. Whereas on the Hunter, the Tether, you're not going to get the same result. You're going to have to take the phase an extra one, basically. Because with a Horde slower, it's got really high total damage, but its burst damage isn't as good. So what we're doing here is, again, we've got Charge with Light. So we're doing the same thing, high energy fire, shield break, charge. And what we're going to do is start DPS. There's a Goblin or two alive, but we're going to forget about that because we'll lose our buff. I'm going to fire my rockets right now while I can. The head will break off the boss. When the head breaks off, you just need to do a Wither Horde and then Invis. And it's a case of map rotation at this point. You need to... the only time you should be not Invis is when you're shooting Wither Horde. As soon as you've shot your Wither Horde, it's Invis straight away. See right now there, see what I've done there? The error I made? I've done a rocket and a Wither Horde. Only do one weapon, then Invis immediately. That will then kill the boss, eventually, if you just keep doing that, and that will be the run on that. So hope you enjoy, thank you.